Okay, so officially, the XRP SEC case is over. This isn't really new news, right? We've been waiting and waiting for this to happen. It was actually 7 days ago if we really think about it. But after they said it was done, lots of people were spreading rumors that it wasn't really finished, and we'd have to wait for the SEC to tell us more and make things clear. And guess what? We just got the SEC's update, so we didn't have to wait very long. Now, on the 12th, this got pushed out. The paper that came with the news saying both sides filed their joint dismissal was officially released at this time. This has the complete update. It's dated August 7th again, but it actually came out on the 12th. Also, it talks about both sides dismissing things in this paper. Again, the SEC has said very clearly that the investigation is now officially closed. Now I've been talking about and explaining the idea that there will be a big change in the Ripple and XRP world after this lawsuit gets solved for a long time. And now that RLUSD has been introduced, it will also see some really good gains. Also, I'm not talking about price changes when I mention profits. I am talking about market exposure, partnerships, and people using it. If this problem had stayed hanging around, we would not have seen the kind of activity that is happening right now around Ripple, XRP, and RLUSD. So I'm excited. I'm happy that we can now move on from this, and that is definitely a big barrier that stood in our way, kind of slowing down our progress. Also, there is nothing right now stopping XRP from reaching a new all-time high, becoming widely used, or being adopted. Nothing will stop Ripple from growing and eventually making partnerships with some really well-known companies. In fact, RLUSD might even be included in those partnerships. Even though it's impossible to predict what will happen next, I think that the markets around Ripple, XRP, and even RLUSD will see some big updates in the future. Hester Pierce wrote something and she said, "Last week, the SEC's case against Ripple was finally put to rest, a welcome development for many reasons, including that minds, once busy with lawsuits, now can focus on creating a clear set of rules for crypto. With these cases, they completely cleared the air. They are now focused on building a clear set of rules for cryptocurrencies." In response, Paul Atkins also said, "Commissioner Pierce is right. Now that this chapter is over, we can focus our efforts on the policy writing table rather than the courtroom. We should focus on creating a clear set of rules that protects investors and encourages new ideas. And you know what? Surprised? It looks like a big change is going to happen in the cryptocurrency world. All of this is a part of the cryptocurrency project that Paul Atkins talked about. And it's exciting to finally get past the biggest cryptocurrency case and start working on projects that will really help this area grow in terms of value and announcements, and not just announcements. What about adopting a loan? It seems like this lawsuit actually stopped a lot of things. Unbelievably, many people don't want to admit this, but we think of Ripple as a private company that is only focused on making money. But you have to remember Ripple and its cryptocurrency goals. They're working to get this technology widely used. You know, they might let the widespread use of crypto technology happen now that they have no barriers in their way. We just weren't aware of how much this case slowed things down. In my opinion, the price action of XRP was the only thing on everyone's mind. But now that this case is over, we are still looking at and focusing on a lot more behind the scenes. Let's talk about that a little more now and let's talk about a couple of things. Now, let's talk about XRP's market growth using RLUSD. To line up every level of their RWA stack with RLUSD, Epic Chain said on August 9th that it is still growing its XRP native infrastructure. Tokenized real estate, credit, commodities, and collectibles will all be powered by a native USD settlement layer that Epic will connect with Ripple USD. This is huge. Then they are now locked in with RLUSD. They had previously given their XRP native stack their whole attention, and that just gets layered on top of that. Also, Mesh gave us a big update on August 12th, adding support for Ripple USD. RLUSD is now accepted at checkout by merchants, joining the list of more than 50 supported tokens. This is another massive growth. And as of right now, everyone was talking about how Ethereum held most of the RLUSD supply. Well, have a look at this from Vet Underline. The RLUSD group seems to have moved from Ethereum to the XRP ledger. We call it the rotation. Also, if we look here, we can see that the RLUSD treasury has burned 20 million RLUSD. Etherscan was used for this. Then on the XRP ledger, 20 million RLUSD were created from the RLUSD treasury. The time between these was 4 minutes. This is a big development and a clear sign that RLUSD will continue to rise on the XRP ledger, and that's actually visible over here. RLUSD 642 million. a 24% increase over the previous 30 days. Also, we can see that the monthly transfer volume has increased by 28% to 3.7 billion. The number of monthly active addresses and holders has also grown a lot. But a quick look at the XRP ledger shows that market share has increased by more than 13%, and we can see that it has passed Ethereum in the last 30 days, rising by more than 30%, and we're getting close now. On the XRP ledger, we're getting close to 100 million RLUSD. Also, the market cap of the XRP ledger stablecoin has increased by 75% in the past 30 days. In the past 30 days, the RWA value has also increased by 60%. The use of stablecoins on the XRP ledger is starting to pick up a lot, which is pretty exciting. With USDC, you can even see that other stablecoins can be found here. Yes, since some of these now have very little value connected with them, such as Europe, I'm happy to see a lot more of these actually kind of hitting the XRP ledger, as well as a lot more of them growing on the XRP ledger at the moment. But I do think things will change in the future. Also, Monica Long gave us a big update now that this dispute is basically over. She was explaining to us exactly what will happen to the XRP ledger and with Ripple. This is a huge thank you to Subjective Views. Here we have through its cross-border payment solutions and the use of XRP as a bridge currency. Ripple is mainly focused on increasing liquidity across important currency pairs. By lowering cross-border payments and friction, they are moving forward the company's goal of improving worldwide financial connections. Take a look to launch a Ripple dollar stablecoin. We saw two things. One, which is the reality that the stablecoin market is big and it's getting bigger and bigger. So from a few $100 billion today to growing to, 3 to 4 or 5 trillion, depending on what forecast you look at, dollars in market cap over the next few years. And that's because I think the world is really accepting and realizing the use cases for stablecoins beyond just speculative crypto asset trading. The second reality is that stablecoins have been central to our payments business. To use blockchain to make cross-border payments a lot faster and lower cost. We've been using stablecoins for a while now, and so, the more ownership we can take of our product suite, the better. I think there's two kind of long poles to making stablecoin payments the norm or to make them really explode in growth globally. One is connecting blockchains to domestic systems. And that's really, that's been the hard work of Ripple over the past, several years is building the network itself. And you know how it is in payments. There can be many different ways to achieve that through different strategies. But the second key thing is, I think liquidity. So you think about FX markets in 2024, there was upwards of $200 trillion in FX volumes. But in stablecoin volumes, it was like $25 trillion, mostly through speculative trading. So the next challenge that we have as an industry is to now create the breadth and depth of liquidity for stable coins across key currency pairs like AED and others. Ripple owns many XRP tokens. We also have a team of core ledger developers who are always, continuously working on and innovating with the ledger. So I think we have always been working in service to build use cases that make use of the attributes of the XRP ledger. So that's why we've been focused on payments from the beginning, because it was always kind of built for payments. I think that having the skills in-house between, blockchain development as well as the commercial teams building the solutions on top of it has been helpful. And when we think about this, the whole cross-border payment market has just opened up.